Hello and welcome to the Popcorn Junkies, to this important review of an important film, Palestine 36, which we were really frustrated about missing, weren't we, when it was out of the London Film Festival.
Yeah.
This is directed by Annemarie Jacir, a Palestinian filmmaker, who I think your dad has worked with or knows, doesn't he?
Yeah, my mum and dad know her, actually. I'll have to have a chat with them later because now we've seen the film.
Yeah, and this is a historical drama. I mean, in terms of names in it, leading the cast is Hiam, apologies for pronunciation here, Hiam Abbass, Kamel El Basha, and Yasmine Al Massri. So, Massri. Yeah.
Imagine my dad when he said it.
Yeah, I wish we could just have your dad here to say it. The most famous Western-facing name is Jeremy Irons. He's in there. Robert Aramayo is the guy from I Swear and from Lord of the Rings. He's in there too. This is a film that essentially retells the story of the 1936 to 1939 Arab revolt, sometimes called the Palestinian revolt, against British colonial rule. And it's interesting because when I saw the title for this, the first thing I do whenever I hear a date is I'm striving to kind of place it within the kind of the history books of learning history in this country. I was thinking 1936. That's curious because that was kind of like it. That wasn't after World War II. It was before the origin of Israel as a country. So we're kind of like, I was like, oh wow, okay, so we're going right back. So this is not a film about the Palestinians and their fight or struggle against occupation by the Israelis. Mm-hmm. This is a film about us.
Us who arrived,
colonial bastards,
who arrived in Palestine 180 years ago.
Yeah.
And I sort of thought, well, it's good for us to start what we thought we were going to see with this film because it was so different from what we saw. I thought we were going to start in 36 and we were going to go all the way through kind of thing. I think it was really clever to just stick with that year that we don't know about. I didn't know about that year in the way I now know about it. We have a Palestinian friend, whose father, grew up most of his life in Jordan, and then he had his kids here. And she always says to us, doesn't she, from Purely Palestine, many of you may follow her, that her dad always said, whatever you do, don't say you're Palestinian. Wow. Say you're Jordanian. Or he would say, I'm from Jerusalem, and let people make their own minds up, and they would think he was Jewish. So it was. Again, I was trying to think if I ever sat in a cinema and watched a truly Palestinian film made by Palestinians. Most of the crew were Palestinian. So I think it's just important to sort of say that, first of all. I just thought it was so clever to just stick with this year.
Yes.
And I was sort of a bit puzzled. I couldn't orientate myself.
Well, it does.
Because I thought I was going to see a film about Zionism.
Well, strictly speaking, it does reach beyond 1936. I was kind of like, it kind of 36 to 39 was the revolt.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think the reason, and what I think is very clever about the film, very subtle about the film, is just in the title, really that number becomes, by the end of the film, you realise that number is incredibly significant because essentially that is the start, the birthplace of any form of Palestinian resistance. Quintessentially British bloke sitting there kind of going, okay, well, where the fuck does this sit within the history that I've been taught? Wow. I mean, if there's one big lesson from this film, like a lot of lessons around colonial rule, and I just thought, wow, I know all about these moments in the British colonial past, and absolutely nothing is taught to us about our utter culpability other than the Balfour Agreement. We know the kind of broadest brushstrokes. We talk about those dates, the Balfour Agreement, the carving up the land. We talk about it, but we don't know the intricacies of it. We don't know how intimately we were involved with, really, not just fucking up the region, which then Blair did once again in Iraq, but not only fucking up the region, but actually laying all the groundwork for the types of oppression that we have become unfortunately used to witnessing in this genocide. I think what this film does a really good job of was just in a very kind of, and this is a weird thing to say, in a very subtle but also quite undramatic way.
Yes.
Just drip feed us stuff that as you're watching it, you're going, this is where this came from. This is how this happened. That's why fences were built. That's why watchtowers were built. Yeah. That's how dogs were used. The young soldiers that came over to Palestine to kind of enforce.
To do what they'd done in Ireland.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was a curious film because on the one hand, I thought what was so clever about it was there is drama and it is very dramatic, but it didn't overplay it in order to show us the grassroots birth of resistance.
When we were about 15 minutes into the film, I was struck by how much my dad would love it. of course, the subject, but also because that affinity with the storytelling. If you think about my dad and the way that he tells stories, it was very like that. It was very Arab, the way that the story was told, because those dramatic moments, but the way that the really important moments were sort of leaked in. Little rivulets came in, and you were like, oh, and then it would go, okay. So you never felt like you were really being battered into being educated in it.
No, not at all.
It was the storytelling that my dad is just so good at, which I'm just so lucky to have grown up with.
So one of the devices that the film used right from the beginning, which I thought was really, really neat, and at first I was thinking, oh God, you've got to be careful with this, was they coloured up some old authentic archive footage.
It was so funny because you looked at me and went, is that real footage? And I went, yeah. And they coloured it up, and he went like this, like he didn't like it.
I wasn't entirely sure about that, but because it made, because in this AI age, it made you end up thinking we don't trust anything ever. And you're like, I didn't want to feel that, but it was that kind of quite rudimentarily coloured up film, or maybe it was the actual original, just essence of colour in some. No, don't think there was colour back then. Even
but I think you're right about. Oh, that's such a good point, because we question everything. It was like, oh, are you trying to make out that this is footage? That's what you didn't want, but old footage. But
I think there was a creative decision for that. I think the director was trying to, perhaps, I don't know, but maybe trying to draw that parallel that when you cut from that footage to the footage that she'd shot, there wasn't such a jump. I think she was trying to fuse the two together. Anyway, it was incredibly powerful footage once you realise that this, oh my God, this is actual authentic footage of Palestine. And you're watching and witnessing a beautiful, functioning, with all of the kind of aspects of a city, a culture, a civilization, a society. And I just don't think we've been shown enough of that to be reminded of the fact that actually, hang on a minute, way before even Israel was even a speck of dust in an imperialist's eye, there was this fully functioning country. That immediately caught me because of our activism and everything that we've witnessed and watched. I thought, my God, people don't even know this. People do not even know this.
Because the world has been beautifully, I was talking to a British person about this the other day, actually, beautifully brainwashed into thinking that that part of the world is filled with merely savages and terrorists.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And when we actually look at how extraordinary the Arab world and what has come from the Arab world, incredible philosophers, inventors, and it does show that the beautiful city and people I think would be expecting that they were all living in mud huts and eating each other from where we got to.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, a huge part of that infrastructure was brought by the British, and that's what you often get in most colonial outposts around the world is that the infrastructure, even when you go to somewhere like New Orleans, it's French. If you go to Jamaica, it's British. So it was brought, there's the good and the bad of what is brought in.
Yeah.
But I thought,
like everything that ends up turning against us, we think life is going to be made easier, and we'll come to my dad saying that at the Nakba, and what he said. And my dad has that beautiful innocence and love for this country, and still is affected by the positive sides of colonialism to this day. So it was very emotional for me all the way through it. I was like, when I was seeing that old footage and thinking of sorry.
That's all right. Do you want me to pick up? Yeah. I mean, one of the things so in terms of going to see this film, what to expect and what to actually relish about it, this is not a story about Jewish people even necessarily. It is a story about Jewish people settling and beginning to settle the region. This is hugely eye-opening about the fact of that prior to even the aftermath of World War II, settlers were being brought into or were migrating to the region, courtesy of the British, helped, facilitated, brought in. Zionism helps bring them in. So this was an idea, this was a concept.
Beautifully subtly done. The whisper of Zionism. Yeah. It was whispering through the film. Yeah. And also the whisper of the welcoming. Yeah. Because they were welcomed.
Yes. And this whole, I'd argue that tonally, this whole film, in a way, tonally speaks to the open-eyed, innocent, some would say naive trust of the Arab people of the region, some of whom would have been Jewish, some, Christians, it was all religions,
Muslims,
Semites in the region, welcoming in these people who had no land. And there were many moments where they were kind of doing the cotton in the field, or they were working in the agricultural land, and women would look and go, why are they building fences? Why are they not talking to us? Why are they holding themselves apart?
Very subtle. And there was a moment with a child. I loved when we were looking through the children's eyes through this. Again, all very subtle. Why did they come here as they were watching a tower go up, reminiscent of the concentration camp towers? Yeah. Why did they come here? Oh, they weren't wanted. Why weren't they wanted? Left. And then just left. Everything's just left, isn't it? Just a few sentences here and there. There's a sushi telling of a story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the most sinister aspect of how we've arrived at the monstrosity of the genocide that we're at. It all started with a quintessentially British whisper.
Don't, because I felt so ashamed.
I felt it's so ashamed.
So ashamed.
And you see Jeremy Irons is very good. He's only in a couple of scenes, but he's in there as that kind of quintessential British colonel who's so dismissive, the stroke of a pen, the swish of a piece of paper, and a kind of irritation with the kind of...
But not pure evil. Which
no, not pure evil.
But we had the character, the general, who was the soldier guy from...
Robert Aramayo. Yeah. The nasty black and tan officer.
Black and tan officer. Who was our quintessential evil character.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Irons' character was... Sometimes they can be more scary than the devil because he was reasonable.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how many films have we seen imperialist generals? I mean, I'm thinking of Passage to India. That British class that's committing something awful, but's doing it in a way that makes you feel grateful for it.
That my dad would have looked up to.
Yes, exactly.
And that's all these moments. Sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, so many moments for me in the film. My dad is not Palestinian. My dad is Jordan, but as my dad says, we're all cousins. But so many moments where I was just, I felt the British side of me.
Shame.
The British heritage of me. And God knows what this is like for Palestinians to watch this film, because I just had such a moment, because I know my dad would have respected a character like that because of... Now, when I say naive or innocence, it sounds really patronising.
No, I know what you mean.
And it's not. No. That's what human beings are supposed to
be. Trusting.
And when they talked about why are we punishing everyone? Because the Arab believes more in community than they do in themselves. And it was said as such a slur that stuck out to me like a yes, absolutely. That's why so often when wars have been begun by evil characters like we saw, they don't win. They can't win because they don't understand community and they don't understand the tribe.
Exactly.
And they don't understand the pulling together and not looking just after the individual and the individual's bag of gold.
There is no. I mean, I used the word naive earlier too, and it's become a pejorative term when I say you're a bit naive.
Like kind.
Yeah.
Oh, they're very
no.
Kind.
But I think naivety and trust are the two of the components of a native population, a sort of an occupied population. Stripped back to its bareness, that a human soul would not assume that someone would want to control, abuse, and commodify you and everything you live off, the land and everything around you. Imperialists, colonialists, and white supremacists groom the underclasses and the underprivileged by taking everything and convincing them that they're actually nice people.
Because they
to begin with,
by giving you so
Precisely.
much and then taking everything you have.
And that's why, and I would argue, that whilst the idea of finding a place for an unwanted people, which is in itself an absolute stain on the Western European civilization. I'm talking about Jewish people there. Where anti-Semitism was born.
Not.
Absolutely. And I think by trying to solve that, by placing that oppressed people on top of another oppressed people, it's not surprising that the people who were placed there, namely the Jewish settlers of a European origin, have themselves inherited or got used to the very same grooming concept that was,
But they came from the most brutal grooming.
Hurt people
hurt people.
And I think you have this at the most stratospheric level when you look at Israel as a nation's and as a government and as a regime today's treatment and over the last 70 years treatment. And so what was interesting about this film is this film didn't even need to go near that in order to show us the DNA, the little bits of DNA that was set in the land and in the treatment of the Palestinians, and how at the most rudimentary level resistance started with a small fucking gun from Turkey. I thought it was so symbolic that you had this kind of really
beautiful gun that had been looked over through generations and passed on. Again, very subtle moment there. They've obviously really looked after this. These were precious things.
Fashioned kind of, gun where you put the powder in and, all that sort of stuff.
And very strange when we've been so active throughout this genocide to go to a cinema expecting to be feeling those same feelings towards the oppressor of the moment, and actually everything being turned on. I feel upside down today. I feel we knew the British, we knew it's just messing with my head so much because it's made it not more complicated. I understand why everyone says it's complicated, because that's what suited everyone 100 years ago. To start. There's a great Jeremy Irons says it was just so complicated. They're looking at a photograph of some of the rebellion, and they've got flags with a cross on because they're Christians, because Christians and Jews and Muslims lived in harmony before the Brits arrived. And they're not in total harmony, who does? But he's, oh God, one of those has got a cross on his flag. Let's not let that get out. God, this is complicated.
Yes.
One line.
God,
absolutely. This is complicated.
And yet within the film, you've got so many parallels with what's going on now. And again, not rammed down your throat, but absolutely just delivered to you.
The genesis of the parallels.
So for example, the genesis, right down to the black and tan British soldiers, young soldiers, blithely unaware of what they're being told to do, but doing it and becoming more monstrous as they did it, the IDF.
Totally dehumanising.
Yes.
The dehumanising came before the IOF.
Yes.
And the dogs.
The use of dogs.
Every time the dogs came out. Now, I just want to say, and maybe we should say this at the beginning, because both me and my sister find it very difficult to watch the kind of humiliation and brutality, and to hear about the horrendous sexual attacks and everything that's going on with Palestinians at the moment. So I was very nervous. I just want to say that you don't see that. Everything is there.
This is very much a 12A version, which is good. I think it allows you to not be absolutely... it's traumatizing in everything it infers, and everything you bring to this film, you will see the birthplace of everything you've witnessed in the most hideous fashion. But this film isn't a hideous experience.
So when the Dobermans that were coming out, that we now know were trained by the Germans, that are used now in torture camps in Palestine to rape hostages, and you just saw the beginning of the Palestinians being a bit like this with the dogs. Well, of course, now imagine what you'd be like with those dogs knowing everything that they do. The dehumanisation, the power of these young soldiers having the dogs. But just a little... It's not... She doesn't make a film that you have to turn away from.
No, I know.
And that is really, really important, because it allows you to actually settle in with the history.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. But also I think she does something else. She's in that truly, like you said at the beginning, which I think is beautiful, the way your dad tells a story, in that truly Arab way of telling a story. She tells the story. The connections and the internal truths of that story drip from it and fall from it naturally. And whilst there's the parallels with the IDF, you've got the middle classes in Palestine for whom the British kind of colonialism has kind of worked for them. They're
amazing
kind of,
central character of the
journalist and her husband, and he's kind of involved in the kind of running of this
educated in Oxford.
But within them, you are drawing parallels with the Gulf states that are kind of, there's a kind of, we can make this work for us, and we can sell bits of our land off and actually trade with the enemy, because actually this is keeping us okay. We've kind of upped our class because we're a little bit British. So you have that element.
But again, not pure evil landlords. It's just the way that colonialism works. It's just like it just leaks in.
Yeah.
Or just let this little trickle in here, this little trickle in here, and then of course that horrendous moment when that radio message that comes in when the decision has been made on the partition.
Yeah.
I found that
Or they all realise, oh, we're all just Palestinians.
But Mark, don't you think that was fantastically done, that
Yeah,
scene?
absolutely.
There was no huge reaction. There was no...
It was just a resounding silence.
Because they were with the people when and you'll see the film guys, when this announcement comes through about the partition. Well, no, I leave it. I won't say too much. I just found that very powerful, very chilling.
Because what you discover again there, even the middle classes, when push comes to shove, you're Arabs. It doesn't matter if you've climbed up there.
Just an Arab.
Even if you're a journalist, even if you think you're a bit kind of, you gain some sophistry and you're kind of so-called, you are nothing other than a Palestinian. But the other parallels that were in there, when the strike happens and they are told make them not wear the kafir. So you had, there was a resistance to what people could wear.
The marches. I was sobbing.
The marches.
I haven't
huge
cried.
parallels. The closing down of the paper, Al Jazeera being removed from the region. It starts with, I've thought about this a lot. It starts with the launch of the Palestinian Broadcasting Corporation, which, if you say that quickly, is the PBC.
Straight away you went like that, because I missed it, and you went, the PBC?
I didn't, it's called the PBC. No, and the BBC. And again, that spoke to everything we'd gone through in a very subtle way with the BBC. I was thinking, oh my God, we've got this very British, the radio station that's being launched in Palestine. So you had all of the kind of trimmings of so-called civilized Western life dangled in front of the Palestinians and then told, no, you're not having it. These people are having it, who are very much just a ghost. The Jewish settlers are a whisper in the... They're literally on the horizon.
In the movie, it's like this.
Yeah.
And
it's incredibly powerful. And it's that clever thing of,
I would say, restrained.
It's clever thing of Arab storytelling. Your dad does it so well. Where sometimes you can sit there as a Western, but you go, I'm a little bit confused. And then you're walking about your life and suddenly you're clobbered around the back there and you go, oh!
Mark and I have been married 24 years. Still now, when my dad tells a story, though he loves it, Mark will go, so that bit, just go with it. And that's another thing that I loved about this. But when you think that this was being made through the genocide, it was stopped off because they'd started filming before October the 7th, and it nearly got stopped many times. And the director, Annemarie, was saying that many times they just had to stop filming. People had to stop looking on their phones because it became... And sorry, I've just got goosebumps all over my body again. And I was thinking, as a director, to not have lost focus and gone with the pure rage to what's happening now. And I think that's why I feel topsy-turvy today, because I know my rage. I know where it's coming from at the moment. I know this feeling. And today I'm having to just readjust myself. I felt hopeless when I came out there, I really did.
Yeah, and I thought there were some great touches in there. From the British, you had the Jeremy Irons, who, as you rightly say, has that sort of slightly austere, you feel he could actually, if he turned his brain in the right direction, do everything right for you.
Absolutely. Well, he wasn't just a bad person.
And you probably even think that over his pipe and smoke and sort of, gin with the men around he might even see the illogicality of what they're doing.
There's a line where he says, we are supposed to be fair to both sides.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't seem to control the Arabs. Who was the guy that played...
I don't know his name, but I wanted to say...
He was fantastic.
Yeah, so I wanted to mention him. The middle management guy, if you like. The guy who sort of... He has an empathy and sympathy towards the Palestinians. He has a connection with the female journalist.
A crush.
He's much more embedded. He understands, but he was an interesting character because he speaks to that character in biblical history that I struggle with so much. I can deal with evil. I can't, but I'm not surprised when I see it in certain quarters. Netanyahu, Trump, et al. I can also deal with people who are on the other side, but the people that I find really intriguing in storytelling and in history are the Pontius Pilates. And he is the Pontius Pilate in this. He is the middle management because he just throws his lot and he goes, I can't do this, and he just storms off and walks away. And he has as best as a British man can at this time then in the region, he has empathy and he has sympathy for the Palestinians.
Hugely so.
Yes,
I don't think
but still fundamentally, but fundamentally and ultimately he walks away.
No, but I don't think that was because about being a bad person. I think the point of that was to show freedom of choice, right? Like, we could today just go, do you know what? I'm just exhausted for this. I'm exhausted with all the hate I'm getting. I'm exhausted with the round-the-back bullying on Instagram. I'm exhausted with people, contacting employers. Let's just give up now. Let's just go back to doing nice, fluffy things, and we could make that decision. It doesn't make us a bad person. It doesn't mean that we didn't feel all of this all the way through. We're not going to do that. But But I think that showed that so brilliantly.
Yes.
And I think for people that might now just go,
His privilege.
oh, shush now. Why aren't you all pleased about the ceasefire? Everyone just shush. There'll be many people now that will go, well, there is a kind of ceasefire and they're kind of all right, so let's just back out. I think she's showing us the potential.
Yeah, well, again, even that parallels there with him. I thought, again, this film was a reminder through the character of Robert Aramayo, who you'll see, I mean, I couldn't believe it's the same actor who was in the film about Tourette's. You know, the British, let's not forget, the British created the concept in Africa, colonial Africa, or at the Boer War and stuff like that. They created concentration. It wasn't the Germans. Wasn't the Germans that innovated this amazing kind of the British colonial, the British Empire created concentration camps, and you had scenes in this where entire the collective punishment. The whole village were put behind barbed wire fences when a young man who kind of becomes the lead resistance kind of is giving them water, and Robert Aramayo comes over, and Robert Aramayo is very good. It's always, he's the clear villain of the piece.
But hang on, that's quite an important moment, because we have this moment where something's happened, and we go back to the village, and the whole village is behind some barbed wire, and they're hungry and they're thirsty. And Mark said to me, why are they all in there? And I went, the birth of collective punishment here. And it was the first time that it happened to the village. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's you're right. This boy who then does become part of the resistance.
Beautiful.
He just resists, and when he says don't give them the water, and he's scared, he's afraid, he's not a big, and he gives them water, and they kick the shit out of him.
But this is an incredibly clever film for showing how the situation over there, created by the British, furthered by the Israeli settlers.
Frustration of the British, because they're getting orders from somewhere to sort this out.
Resistance is as simple as giving your family, your friends, your community water.
And same today. It's the same today in Palestine. They restrict the water.
And again,
people talk about stop the bombs. People say ceasefire. It's like, let them fucking have a glass of water whenever they want.
I mean, how we can't understand that is quite shocking. So I came out of this film
because we've always been told it's
enraged.
complicated.
Absolutely enraged. This film will explain, if you can't get on board with the idea that when you are an oppressed, apartheided, colonialised, taken advantage of community, if you resist in any way, if you want to understand where resistance comes from and what resistance means, and then ask yourself when you've watched this film, if this happened to my community, would I maybe go to the lengths that these young men go to fight back against British colonial rule? Then it will give you a kernel of understanding as to where the Palestinians are today.
Well, it's really easy. If I go across the road there and I say, I'm turning all your water off, but the other side of the road, they can all have as much water as they want. How long is it, neighbours across the road, they're going to get pissed off?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's no more complicated than that.
We have to recognise that when we say the Palestinians have no right to resistance, that in and of itself is a massive hangover from our colonial imperialist past. And this film, and you're right, I came out of this film ashamed, absolutely ashamed yet again of the British, how we created not only the circumstances on the map, but we created all of the kind of behaviour. We set it all in motion in the way we treated the Palestinians, and that the Israeli settlers have just continued it and taken it to DEFCON 38. It's hideous. It's hideous. But this film did it in a very spare sort of way.
Do you think because we know so much, we picked up on all those points? And if somebody went really wanting to, I wonder if somebody who really didn't know anything about the situation, how they would come out of it.
No.
Because the director, this little interview I was watching with her earlier, she said, I don't think I'll educate anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether, because we're so involved with it, I don't know if necessarily all those parallels would be picked up. But one thing you do get from this is it's as plain and simple as this. The British were absolute fucking bastards, and they controlled people, and they did it in a way that tried to be kind of, alluring, but we're just hideous.
It's because they would arrive in these lands and look at these people and think, you've got nothing but take that one line when he said, we have to give collective punishment because the Arab thinks as a community, not as the individual. You didn't know that was there. They were rich beyond your wildest dreams. So they come in and they say, we've got to give you up these people.
Yeah.
And that's still here today. That's still here today.
Yeah.
In so many people's minds and hearts.
Right.
I mean, we've had to say ourselves, haven't we? There's that brilliant photograph that Miss Anne Harriman posted right at the beginning of this, with a very British man standing at a march with an incredible sign that said, "This has made me realise my own Islamophobia." Me too. Me too. It's absolutely petrifying, and I think that's why I felt hopeless when I came out, because I thought it's so ingrained. Like you say, you look around the world, it's all still going. You look at the Sudan, you look at the Congo, you look anywhere, and I really felt hopeless. I don't today, and I'm not sure why, but yesterday I felt very low.
I just think it's really, I just think it's a really important film to remind us that the entire problem of Israel being plonked, and this isn't disrespect, this is what happened. Israel being artificially plonked onto an entire area, region, civilization, community and people, in which there were Jewish, Christian and Muslim, was a really blunt imperialist solution and instrument to dealing with European-centric anti-Semitism. We were dealing with European hate of others by plonking them on someone else. And now, when people say it's they're anti-Semitic, that the Arabs are anti-Semitic, they're not.
How dare you?
How dare you? This is about the imposition of an imperialist solution.
Exactly. It's
no more complicated than that.
How do Europeans dare point a finger and say you're anti-Semitic? How dare you? Wasn't that, I thought we were supposed to never forget. Is it just the bits you don't like?
Only the bits.
And then the bits that you might have to think about, you just push onto another people.
Yeah.
As we walked out of the cinema, we were so quiet. As I say, we always try not to talk too much about a film before we did, but it was a different kind of feeling. I felt such sadness because of my dad's unbelievable loyalty to this country.
Yes.
My dad loves this country so much. He loves the British people so much. You know, he wanted to come here so desperately. He said, I don't want to be a big fish in a small pond. I want to come here, the way the British talk, the culture. He's a great reader, isn't he? He speaks incredible English. He's successful film, TV, theatre actor. He loves this country so much and so grateful. And I've always been proud of my dad for that. And when people just dismiss immigrants, and I think of my dad's unbelievable courage to come here at 21 with no family, no nothing, and do that. And I've always felt this need to explain to people just what my dad is. And now I've got this feeling like, I don't want to explain to any of you. Do you deserve his respect and his awe in you all? Do you deserve it? And again, I just felt so rageful about the whole migrant boat crisis bullshit. We've trampled over people all over the world.
Shameful.
We've taken their livelihoods. We've made forced religions down their fucking throats. We've ravaged their lands and their women. And you want to sit here now?
So no, don't come over.
Raging in the way you are. These fucking politicians, even today. What will we see all across our papers tomorrow? What will they be still spouting out? The fucking hate. At the rage that I felt yesterday, the shame that I felt yesterday. And when I said to you, Mark, it's not a fucking apology anywhere. We've never apologised.
For anything.
For anything.
I go so far as to say it's worse than that. We expect everyone to be grateful.
Absolutely.
We expect everyone to be grateful for you to come here, for you to have had us, for us to have been there, for you to... It's so hideously shameful what we've done. And this film very gently tells you that birth story of it in just one pocket of the world, which is Palestine, where this horror is unfolding and continues to unfold. I hate to say it, I see no solution to it as the entire Western world pivots ever more towards the Farages and the right wing and everything.
My father loves Shakespeare. He loves it. He speaks our language so beautifully. Many of these people that are puking out hate would long to be able to have... Talk to me about British values. My dad...
Knows British values.
Knows British values. Admires, respects, stands up for, preaches for. And people just want to dismiss him and millions of others as just dogs that come here wanting our everything. We've trampled across the world, taking everybody's everything. The great British Empire. Well done.
No, it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. And just finally, I mean, for me, I just think when I hear people say it's not a historical thing or it's not history, it's a history, you know, don't keep going on about the history, it's complicated and all that kind of stuff. What I've noticed is a really kind of selective picking of moments in history by the Israelis, by the British and by the Americans. They pick and they tiptoe through history to select those bits that support their oppression of others. And when the oppressed point to other moments in history, like this film does, everyone's like, what the fuck? This is just another moment in British history that none of us have been taught. And I think it's so excellent that it homes in on the non-obvious moments. It homes in on 1936 to 1939. It's not even the first Nakba. This is the first Arab revolt. This is the moment that, how dare they, an Arab decided to fight back. How very dare they? Tell us what you think. Please do subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Please do tell us your thoughts. Please go and see it. Please support this film. It deserves to get into the Oscars, win Oscars. It deserves to be seen. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it does well at the Oscars. I think is it not the Palestinian? It's been.
And then I wouldn't be surprised if Palestinian crew were attacked by illegal settlers and the Academy said nothing.
Absolutely.